I meant to be early. Someone says I'm late, but that's the way it goes. 0 right on the button. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA. Direct mail and direct marketing every day. And news you would never hear anywhere else often. Anyway, I'm on a share campaign. I keep getting likes. I like the likes. I like the comments. But shares are worth, I don't know, double. When I look back at some of my crazy shows and see how many views I get or impressions or whatever, what does that mean? Nothing. But anyway, I appreciate if any of you watch. And love it if you comment during the show, if you're actually here. I don't know if anyone is. I never quite worry about it. But it's really encouraging to me when someone comments during the show. I haven't seen a new comment in like a week, so I'm pretty sure it's not working. I better relaunch it. And then it doesn't ever relaunch properly, so it probably won't. But if you share, it's worth like 20 likes. And you know, we have mutual connections, you and I. And some of us, you know, with some people I have 400 or 500 mutual connections. But most of you, you know, it's 10 or 20 or 30 or something, which means that the rest of your audience doesn't know about the fight for mail and is missing all this value. So give it a share. Shares are really good, and make a comment too. That's always good. I mean, you can make a comment and a share all at the same time. So give it a share, or I might write you a note and say hi. Anyway, let's get over to the news. Enough of that. Okay, Mark Hamill was once fired from a Jack in the Box for impersonating a clown in the drive-thru. Today he's back.
Welcome to Jack in the Box.
May I take your order?
Welcome to Jack in the Box.
May I take your order?
Can I get the French toast sticks?
French toast sticks, yummy. Please pull forward.
Here's your order. Thank you for choosing Jack in the Box.
Anybody ever tell you look like a movie star?
No, never heard that before.
You are Mark Hamill.
I make it.
Well, you look like him.
I have seen literally all of your movies. I have grown up with you.
Let's do a selfie.
A packet of Argo?
Here you go.
Why are you here?
Well, it's a long story. I worked here as a teenager. I finally got to work the window. And I thought, instead of just saying, can I take your order in my regular voice, I should do a clown voice.
And they didn't like it?
They didn't like it at all. All these years later, they called me up and said, you want to come back? Second chance for sure. I'm taking it.
Shut up.
And now I'm back, baby.
Yeah, Mark Hamill and Second Chances.
So there I was, strung up in a harness, and they break for lunch. All right.
But you don't have to talk to everybody for so long.
Duly noted.
All right, thanks, Mark Hamill.
Come again. Have a nice day.
So,
You forgot your napkins. Oh, well. She'll be back. Well, that was a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
So you're coming back tomorrow?
Nah, I'm good.
I'm good. Okay, so anyway, enough of that. And here's the backstory, if we can find the clickety-click. He mentioned on James Corden, the Late Show, that he'd been fired from Jack in the Box, and so the chain hired him back, and he did this weird clown voice, and that's what got him fired. And so his motivation was to not get fired again, and that, you know, is always my motivation with every client. And then, but now he quit it. They said, so you're coming back tomorrow? He says, no, I'm good. Okay. So anyway, there's also a comic book version, and they brought back spicy chicken and French toast sticks. And there's another commercial where he sits with the Jack in the Box character, you know, with the bubble on his head, who seems to be channeling Darth Vader or something. And he asked Mark to move the French fries and then move the other things, and calls attention to the spicy chicken strips and the French toast sticks, which they brought back from the 70s or 60s or whenever Mark worked there. And at the very end, there's an outtake where a puff of wind moves the box, and you know, because they're asking him to move them with his mind. And he says, I can't move things with my mind. I'm just an actor. And then all of a sudden the lid of the box moves. And it was fun. I thought it was funny anyway. So let's get to something serious here. How direct response digital marketing supercharges your marketing campaign. And Craig talks about, you know, the most direct response is the heart and soul of modern digital marketing. And that's true. And the disappointing part is I went around Namoa a few years ago because I wanted to do a talk on testing. And I asked people what the definition of direct marketing was. And they said generating a measurable response. And this idea of response is a really good one and a foundation of any kind of tracking. If you don't generate a response, if you just, I mean, it's not that you can't track without it. I mean, you can later ask people, do you remember our ad? And some will, you know. But it's, you know, it's not as solid as somebody clicking or as someone buying, right? Buying is rather much better. And so direct response is good, but if you don't set it up right, if all you do is you test your new Mark Hamill ad and you see if sales go up at Jack in the Box, that doesn't really, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it was because of the Mark Hamill ad. I mean, you've been doing nothing, now you did something, sales went up. There's a correlation there, but is it causal? You don't know, right? Whereas if you did, let's say, if you did it in a digital ad and you had a way of segregating, you know, one side of town around one Jack in the Box versus another side of town with another Jack in the Box, and you can do that sort of thing on Facebook, then you have a little better setup. If you had mail, you'd have a much better setup, right? So anyway, direct response is marketing with the easiest to understand return on investment. The goal of direct response is to generate a response directly and accountably. That's the wrong word. Accountably. Anyway. Okay, so you know, you get an immediate and measurable return on investment if you track the sales and margin, especially. Return on investment usually means going all the way to taking out an order processing cost, taking out a marketing cost, and taking out a cost of goods, and maybe an overhead in addition. But most people only look at return on ad spend, which is not anywhere close to what. In other words, if you spend $1 million in a market and your for that Jack in the Box ad and your sales went up $1 million, a lot of marketing people think that's a break even. But of course, you're still paying for the chicken strips, and you're still paying for somebody, not Mark Hamill, but for your staff to be there, and you're paying heat and air conditioning and things for your store to be there, and property taxes and whatever else, you know, all the overhead that goes into running a restaurant, a quick service restaurant. Okay, so what are ways to do that? Well, email is one, and digital ads are another. And the point is that you should try something, and you can call Craig Huey if you want. I mean, the best one is direct mail. And Craig talks all the time about direct mail, so that's probably why he didn't say that. But it's a good thing. But I want to get to Patrick Carroll because this is really a great article, if you ask me. Okay, so direct mail retargeting is a cost-effective and impactful way to reach your past, current, and prospective customer base. I'm not sure I'd put prospective in with customers, but that's okay. It's just I understand what he's saying. Mail is more influential on purchasing decisions than most digital marketing. True. You can use direct mail retargeting to engage with customers who visited your website, browsed a landing page, downloaded some content, abandoned a shopping cart. That's one of the best ones because you know what they were looking at, although they might have found it somewhere else. I mean, they have a reason for leaving it in the shopping cart, but maybe they just, like me, got distracted somehow as a marketing guy. Oh, anyway, and abandoned it by accident. Subscribed or unsubscribed, only shopped once, shop every day, haven't shopped in a while, big order, no order for a while, the list goes on. Okay, the challenge is getting the right message to the right person at the right time. Mistake number 1, not leveraging automation. So you can send a piece of retargeted direct mail coordinated just as easily as digital channels. You can have a new entry status, and you can in an automated way send a piece of mail in minutes rather than weeks with no volume restrictions. And this is something that Steve Falk specializes in. He's a DMA member, and he's up in Canada, but he does mail for people in the U.S. And he has an interface directly with Salesforce.com that can, so your salespeople or other staff can have a conversation with somebody and they think we should mail them, or they don't have to think. Maybe you just automatically do this. And bing, off they go, that sort of thing. So apparently SQL, which is where Patrick works, has something called Spark. SQL Spark, I guess it's just Spark. I was thinking SparQ, but maybe it's Spark. It's spelled funny. And if you're dyslexic, that throws you off. But anyway, so they must have a product like that. There's other products. I'm talking with Brian Dillette later today, and he was where I first heard of it. He did it, and I just talked about this yesterday, but since I'm talking about Brian, the Lovesac went from a catalog, which is beautiful and very effective, to a retargeting with mail, because they already had a fairly robust TV campaign to drive traffic to their stores. They already had a beautiful website. They already had digital marketing, but they were missing this one piece, which was when somebody came to their website, let's invite them to the store. And they actually took a page from the Sleep Number people who did a speech at a conference, and I talked about that yesterday actually. But they'd heard that Sleep Number was doing some mail, and that it was working really well to invite people to the stores, and Brian wasn't too far from their headquarters, and so they decided to try it, and it turned out to be extremely effective in getting people over the little bump to come in and see the furniture, because in spite of what they thought, which was that digital would do all the work and that sales, anybody from the whole country could buy from their digital site, but what actually was the case when we did a mapping was that a huge percentage, I don't remember what it was, 80, 90, whatever, some big percentage was within a couple of miles of their store. And so people did want to bounce on the furniture or have their kids bounce on the furniture. And therefore, leveraging the stores was really important, which isn't actually in this article, which is another thing Patrick could have included. But the idea is that you can have your prospects, the data on your prospects is extremely limited, and most of it it doesn't have much causal impact when you actually model. Prospect models work so-so. That's at best. Okay, and I've done millions of pieces in the mail, and I can tell you, it's better than nothing. A lot of times, if you got a list that you really, really think ought to work but never has, you can find the worst third of the list or the worst half of the list and drop that out, and it will boost the results. You don't want to just trust the model. I wouldn't say. You want to find lists that sort of work. There's always an abundance of list segments that sort of work, don't quite get to break even, maybe don't get to your target ROI, but they do, which is really loss, acceptable loss for prospecting. But far from lookalike models, this is like we don't want to ever look like these, and that does actually sometimes work. But anyway, so retargeting with mail can be based on customer actions. Okay, and I had an incredibly enlightening conversation with Keith Lawson at Market Builder yesterday, where he told me about how they're doing an interface with a CRM tool where not only are they targeting with mail, but they're also alerting the CRM system to people's changes to give them a call. And they have a high number with a number of their clients. The clients have a high number of volunteers that are, they're difficult to manage. And this gives a way to utilize utilize retargeting with phone and integrate the automation of retargeting with mail into a CRM mechanism. Extremely effective for their clients. It's something I'd never heard of before, and a great idea. But anyway, you can they said, well, if a customer hadn't been sending in much, and then they sent in a lot, you can just call and thank them. Time to market. You really want to get to there fast. Grant Johnson told me that he had done work with a cataloger where they were going to send a catalog, but they wanted to accumulate enough names in the retargeting to get good postal discounts or something. And he said, so some of those people had visited the site like 6 weeks earlier before they finally got a catalog. And he said that just didn't work. I mean, there wasn't a measurable bump. So you do have to get there sooner. And for that reason, you might want to consider, your goal should be to have something in the mail in their consumers' hands within a week. Okay, so first class mail will usually get there sooner, although I got a little late charge from my my Visa bill. I put it in the mail on the 12th and it got there on the 24th, 12 days. First class, and it's only going to Chicago. I don't know what happened with that. So even first class, it's the USPS has promised to slow the mail down, but you're still going to get there faster than trying to do standard mail, and also the fact of bulking it up. I mean, having to have enough pieces. I think the minimum is 200 or something before you can even qualify for standard mail. Another thing that Patrick says is postcards get a reduced first class rate, and also you can even, for card abandonment, you can even put a product picture, maybe not the exact product. If you want to get down to the SKU, it's really tedious. You could put it in there, but you don't necessarily want the shirt they left in there maybe by picture, but you could put a picture of a Hawaiian shirt, like this beautiful one today. It's raining a lot. It's very, very humid, so I wore my Hawaiian shirt. And lastly, not using direct mail. And this is a good point. With the iOS updates, cookies supposedly going away, third-party cookies, not first. Direct mail is a way to fight back, okay? And I can tell you with authority, because we had the results, that when Lovesac started doing the retargeting, their sales jumped some 50% in a year, and they'd been in business 20 years. I mean, it was just like the whole thing that Brian put together was just an explosion, and they went public. And so stuff really works. So here's Patrick, who should be in the WDMA. I'm gonna have to call him up. But anyway, he knows his stuff, and I like his articles. Retargeting is great. Remember, share. Forget the likes. Just share. You can like, share, comment, all that. But especially the share, because your network is powerful. They like seeing informative stuff, and your friends will know you're smart.